Okay, so this is Miss B.J. Myers
With a big hunk of
with food in her mouth. We're having lunch. This is Bill. This is Paul Newman. This is Bill, her handsome husband. Say hi, Bill.
of 8 years.
Of 8 years. Let me see if this will sit somewhere.
And to give everybody, well, I don't know. I didn't
gonna have to
actually
hold it.
hope, but
Go
I
ahead.
didn't get married till I was 65.
I know that gives me hope.
And
Well, I don't know that you need to hope for anything.
No.
BJ certainly wasn't. She
I was
was
happy.
quite happy.
Yeah, I loved being single.
You did?
Mhm.
Okay.
I absolutely loved it. It meant that I could do whatever I wanted to do, whenever I wanted to do it. And if, that's an exaggeration, and I didn't have much money. I worked for nonprofits. But
Right.
that was okay. I always had a job. And but I knew Bill from the time I was at the University of Kansas, and he ended up being my master's thesis advisor.
Okay, so Bill, how long did you work at KU, Bill?
37 years.
37 years, wow. From when to when?
Well, I got my master's there and taught at the time, so I went there from 1958 to 1960.
Okay,
Or no, from 1956 to 1958.
yes.
And then I went to Iowa from 1958 to 1960 and then came back to KU and had been there ever since.
Okay, because we were there probably in 61 or 2.
Yes,
that time?
Nancy
Well,
was.
No, yeah,
I
no.
came there in 1964, and that's when I got to know
64.
Nancy and you guys.
Were we already there?
Yeah,
Okay.
we were already there. And then Bill, I just kind of, about every 5 years, I'd call Bill and tell him what I was doing, because he was my master's thesis advisor, and I just
Right,
wanted to share with him where my career was going, or
yes.
what career there was. And
What was your,
major, I was I got my master's degree in costume design and lighting design.
oh, okay.
And then I worked in New York for a couple of years.
Wow, then maybe you can help me fix those cushions on the couch.
I don't do that
I'm
anymore.
totally kidding. I'm totally kidding. I only
I
say that
would be
because
happy to.
I stopped by the costume shop at the theater because I'm like, I don't know what to do with them. And they said to get some foam
Yeah,
or whatever you put in the,
you can get some foam or you can get some other stuff, but yeah.
and just kind of
Puff 'em up.
Yeah. Okay,
So
moving
anyhow,
back. Yeah.
We had this group of friends, including Nancy Bunovich,
Oh.
who, if anything happened to anybody that was part of this group
Mm-hmm.
of graduate students mostly,
Yes.
some of undergraduates, there was like this, somebody would always call me. I didn't have a list to call anybody else, but somebody always called me, of which I was very grateful.
Yes.
And when Bill's wife passed away from a long illness, I called and said, "Hi, I'm really
I'm
sorry to
going to
hear
have
about
to
that."
answer this. Sorry.
Please, do you want to go out on the porch? Bill and Creed has a cell phone call. Oh, no.
So anyhow, I called him and gave him my condolences. And my mother had died 6 months earlier,
Yeah.
and she had had a terrible stroke, and she was in a nursing home because there was no way we could take care of her in Creed.
Yeah.
And so I would go down there 3 or 4 times a week and spend time with her. And so I understood what it was like to, not to the extent that Bill dealt with it, because Glennis was ill for years and years and years.
You're breaking up.
But we had a connection there in terms of
Yes.
me and my mother, and what do you do with your time after that?
Yes.
Everything was focused in on
On the caregiving, yes.
And so we just kept talking, and he eventually went to
Where was he at this
in
point?
Seal Beach, California.
Oh,
They
in
had moved
California.
there.
Okay. Okay.
And he eventually went in about, I guess it must have been about a year, to Bethesda, Maryland to help his son and daughter-in-law take care of their kids while they were at work because they were having a hard time finding, a
Yes.
good caregiver.
Well, it's all right.
Yeah.
Good babysitter.
Daycare, yeah.
Yeah, daycare.
It may be me. We're way out in the
So
country.
anyhow,
Cabin
what
and,
happened was I was then the mayor of Creed.
Yes.
Now, this is not a big deal. Everybody thinks it's a big deal, but
Well,
when
it
you're a
is.
mayor of a town of 350 people,
Yeah.
in some ways it's a big deal because everybody knows you and everybody either likes you or doesn't.
Yes. I thought there was 500 people in the winter.
No.
350.
In Creed, there's about 800 in the county, including Creed. So
Oh my gosh.
yeah. So anyhow, so I had called him, and I ended up needing to go to Washington D.C. for something, and I knew he had been. We talked every couple months, and I knew he was in Bethesda, so I called him and I said,
You've been reading?
I was in the airport in Albuquerque, and I called him and I said, I'm going to be there in a few hours. I'll be there around noon. You want to have lunch? And he said, no, I can't have lunch because I have to pick up the girls after school, but how about dinner? I said, great. So I
Okay.
had dinner that night, and then we had dinner the next night, and then we
Okay.
calling, and that's ultimately it ended up with us getting married.
That is so wonderful.
It was.
Well, I mean, that's like a movie love story.
It is.
It really is,
It is. And it's like I said, I loved being single.
Yes.
And I had just never felt that I had met anybody that I wanted to give that up for.
Yes.
The way I usually say it is that I'd never met anybody that I wanted to put their pictures up on my walls.
Yeah.
Their aesthetic had to be the same as mine.
Yes.
And Bill's was.
Oh.
We've had we hung out together for 2 years, and I ended up with lung cancer. I'm okay now. Everything is fine.
Did I know about that?
I don't know. I had this really, really rare kind that has no symptoms, and I'm very lucky even to be alive.
How did you find out?
I had this great doctor, and I had an upper respiratory infection. She couldn't figure out what it was. She kept saying, no, BJ, it's not. Don't worry. It is not cancer. You have no symptoms of cancer.
Oh my gosh. And it was.
Yeah, it turned up, she ended up having me go have a CAT scan to find out what was going on, and it turned out to be cancer, and it was this really, really rare kind that only about 125 people a year in the United States.
Get it? What was the name of it?
It's called neuroendocrine carcinoma.
Neuroendocrine
Endocrine,
carcinoma.
yeah. And-
Nerve and endocrine system and cancer.
Yeah, so anyhow.
Did it create a tumor?
Yeah.
Okay. And so?
So anyhow, I called Bill and I said, Bill, this is happening. Now, you've been in enough hospitals, because his wife had terrible, terrible arthritis and had practically every joint in her body
Yeah.
replaced. And I mean, it was awful. And I said, you do not need to be in another hospital.
No.
He said, BJ, if there's anything I know about is hospitals, when do you want me there?
Oh, no. No.
Yeah, isn't that too wonderful for words?
That is so romantic
I
and beautiful.
know. And he came out, and he stayed with me and through the whole thing. And
Yes.
one of the most delightful things that happened was I have so many wonderful friends in Creed.
Yes.
And the day before we were leaving, I said, let's have a party. And I said, now I don't want this to be sad. This, we don't know what's going to happen. Don't worry about it. We don't even know what kind of cancer it is.
Yes.
And except that it's lung cancer. And
Yes.
so, I just want to have all my friends around and have a nice dinner, just like we do when I have a birthday party at your house. When I call you up and say, I'm going to be 57,
Yes.
I'm going to be 62, let's have a party.
Yes. The same energy in the
Right.
room. Yes.
So it turns out that, so Bill was out here,
Uh-huh.
and
Give Schumann my fond regards.
we were going up up for the operation, whatever it was going to be.
Yes.
And
Come on, Mr. Blythe.
there's, it's,
Sorry.
like always, we have a big potluck.
Yes.
And I said, now,
Hi, Bill.
Sorry about that.
Bill is back from the cell phone call.
It was my daughter, and we'd been interrupted on a conversation earlier, and so I really needed to take the call.
Is she okay? Is everything okay?
She's fine. She just wanted to tell me about a book that she'd come across that was in their library, which I had bought and put on the shelves when I was living there with them in
Bethesda, Maryland.
In Bethesda, Maryland.
I
yeah.
I know that now.
And it was about a spy that had been caught in Moscow in 1911 and imprisoned in the Kremlin, and I was interested in those things, and turns out that I bought that book at a used bookstore, and as a matter of fact, it had his obituary from Washington, D.C., dated 1970, and it was a newspaper article about him. And the book itself was his memoirs, published in 1933. So, and it's something I bought at this used bookstore, which I used to love, and there aren't any anymore, as you may know.
Yes. Hard to come by.
Yeah.
Except for the gas station in Creed, you can get the paperback for 50 cents. Or trade one.
Oh, is that right? We'll have to check it out. So anyway, she needed to tell me about that.
Oh, well,
That's a valuable book by now.
absolutely. Absolutely.
she is a wonderful one. Both of his kids are absolutely fabulous.
And what are your children's names?
Karen and Kevin.
Karen and Kevin.
Kevin lives in New York City, and Karen lives in Bethesda.
Okay, and they both have children?
They do. Karen has 2 daughters. Julia is the younger, and Kate is the older. Kate is a fashion marketing specialist in New York City, and
Wow.
Julia is just headed for Sarah Lawrence College to start her college career in New York.
That's wonderful.
And Kevin's son is Will, and he's 10 years old.
Oh,
And he is smart as a whip.
And he's just starting the 6th grade.
is he really?
Yeah. And he's married, and Kevin is married to Mary, who is a wonderful person. And you know what's so fabulous?
What?
They all like me.
Well, why would they not
Well,
like
but you know, I mean,
Listen.
it's
I know, it's a
The
transition.
stories just been sharing about our siblings. Apparently, it's
True.
unusual for a family to be as congenial with each other as Kevin and Karen are, and all their kids together.
yeah,
So that's wonderful.
they spend Christmas together every year, and we go out, fly out there, and yeah, marrying somebody who's, kids can be pretty,
Protective
that's right.
Yes.
Exactly. And,
of their daddy or their
but
mama.
I think we're so happy that makes them really happy.
Okay,
you
good.
know. So anyhow, back to the story of.
Yes.
So here we are sitting in Marta and Steve Quiller's house. He's a really wonderful painter, and there's a knock on the door. Well, we had this whole thing set out.
Do you
know,
want my
this-
other half, Bill? Because I'm, okay, sorry, BJ.
So we had this potluck dinner like we always have.
Yes.
And all the food was ready, and we were just sitting around, and I kept thinking, why aren't we eating? But I didn't think I should say, okay, come on, you guys, let's
Eat.
dig
Yeah.
in.
Yes.
Wasn't my house.
Yes.
And there was a knock on the door, and the door opened. Steve went to the door, and it was Mandy Patinkin.
Oh, yes, Mandy Patinkin.
Yeah,
What
and-
year was that?
That was 2003.
And 3. Oh, he was back up. Back up. He had been here before
Oh,
on
he's-
many occasions.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
he owns a house here now.
Oh, he does?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
So he,
I haven't seen him
so
since then.
anyhow, it turned out
Oh, no.
that Steve and Mandy and also another friend of ours, Richie Ormsby, are really good friends.
Oh, okay.
And we're good friends too with
Yes.
him. But they're really close. And so Steve was talking to Mandy in New York and was telling him what was going on. And Mandy said, well, I will call at 6 o'clock.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so just be ready. Well, and he didn't tell Steve anything else. So here's this knock on the door, and it's 6 o'clock.
Oh,
and
no.
in walks Mandy.
Oh, no.
And he came to just to be part of what was going on, and also because he tells people that Bill's the best actor he's ever worked with,
Wow.
and he wanted to be there for both of us.
Bill, how's your head?
Was that
I'm kidding. I'm coming back over to BJ.
How's your head?
That's a huge compliment.
Well,
I mean,
it is.
huge.
It is.
It
Absolutely.
is. It is.
Do you know Kip Niven?
Sure.
Okay. I finally found him on Facebook.
Yeah. Oh, really?
We did Oliver and Mom, Kip and Sue before she passed years ago in Tulsa
Right.
at TU.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I saw Kip do Fagin in a production by your mother at the University of Tulsa.
that was what I was just referring to.
He was
Oliver.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
He was a good. I was Bet.
Oh, you were?
Uh-huh. And I sang with Alan Heinberg, who was Oliver.
Oh, for
And Alan
heaven's
Heinberg has gone on. So you saw Alan in that play. He's gone on to New York. He's not there now, but he went to Harvard, and then he wrote all the beginning of the Sex and the Cities.
Oh,
Really?
for heaven's sake.
And then he also wrote on Gilmore Girls, and then his most recent is Grey's Anatomy.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
So that was Little Oliver,
Oliver.
with
My
Kip
God.
Niven at the
I
University
figured.
of Tulsa. Yep.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Our lives have intertwined a lot.
They have over the years.
So anyhow, that was great, and we had a wonderful time. And the next day, I took off and went to Denver with Bill to interview the
Doc-
surgeon. And I mean, this is a funny part of the story. The whole thing turned out great. So don't
Okay.
get nervous.
Okay,
You guys,
okay.
whenever you're watching this,
Don't get
It's been 10 years, and I'm cancer free.
And you're sitting right here.
I'm sitting
so,
right
yes.
here, and I'm one of the luckiest people in the world because I started to say only 125 people in the world or in the United States get it, and most of those are found in autopsy.
Oh
because it has no
my
symptoms.
gosh.
So for me,
Wow.
every day is a gift,
Yes.
and especially with Bill.
You got a double whammy, girl.
I did.
You
I
did.
did. So anyhow, we went and they took my blood pressure and it was like 110 over 70. And
That's normal, isn't it? Is that
that's
good?
really good. That's
That's
what it's
really
always
good.
been. That's low.
Yeah, low.
That's what
Yeah.
I've always been. And the doctor walked in and looked at the
Girl,
the
you
chart.
need some more wine. honey.
no, it's okay.
Okay.
And
One moment, please, while we pour.
you're good at this. You know how to do this.
Hi,
And
Bill.
Thank you.
so he walked in and he looked at my chart and looked at the blood pressure and he said, well, if you're not afraid of this, you're not afraid of anything. And
Okay.
I said, well, I don't know what to be afraid of yet.
Yeah.
So you can tell me after the operation, and then I'll know whether to be afraid or not.
Yeah.
So the operation turned out fine.
So
They
they did surgery.
Yeah, they took the upper left lobe of my lung.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, but
And-
I'm in great shape. My pulse ox at almost 9,000 feet is usually 92 to
Percent?
94.
which is probably more than what mine is, right?
But I
Really?
lived at such a high altitude for so long
Yes.
that it really made a difference, you know.
Your lungs are probably just used to
Strong.
it. Strong. Yeah.
So anyhow, and that was before Bill and I got married, and then we spent more time together, and
Yes.
then Bill said, we talked kind of off and on about whether we should do this, and then one day Bill said, well, I think we should get married, and I said, okay, but you have to get down on, we were in the yard.
Uh-huh.
I said, okay, but you have to get down on your knee and ask me, because I've never been asked this before.
Oh, did he do it?
Yeah.
Go, Bill. Did you have a ring right there, or did you
No,
just
no.
kiss her hand and say
Yeah.
pretty things?
Yeah. Well, we were pretty much beyond that. We were pretty
Oh.
much sure that this was going to be
Yeah.
a good thing.
And where was that? Where did that happen in Creed?
In Creed, at our house. in
At your
Creed.
house in Creed, which you are currently remodeling
Mm-hmm.
or building onto, or I can't wait to see it.
Both. Both. I lived in a little house that was 12 by 24 feet
Oh my, that's
for
little.
40 years.
Wow,
And then Bill lived in that house for about 5 years with me.
wow.
Between that, and then he had a place in California.
Which
and-
you guys live in the
the
winter?
winter,
Okay, yes.
And both of them were paid off, so we didn't see any reason why we had to
Suffer
give
any
up
longer?
one.
No.
And but Bill is from Colorado, from Denver, and
Oh,
so, and I
And I
live
went to Adams State College in
Al-
Alamosa.
okay. One of the girls in the theater was just telling me about Adams State yesterday. I think she's going there.
Yeah.
Well, so how did, and so here you are at this beautiful stage in your life, married, happy, loving. I mean, I'm so happy for both of you.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful
Thank you.
thing.
Couldn't be better.
I mean, really just couldn't.
Yeah.
Have any more
It's
blessings.
just, if, like I said, Bill had a wonderful family
Yes.
and everything, and I had a wonderful life as a single person, and
Yeah.
got to do all sorts of great things. Work in New York as for a costume house that made Broadway
Oh,
show
wow.
clothes for Broadway, and I got to help start the theater in Creed. And I mean, I just have had.
Let's talk about that, about the theater in Creed.
Okay.
Because, of course, I want to hear what you said about Mom, at
Well,
least, to get that on paper here.
I've been thinking about it, and your mom really was an instigator in getting the theater going. Not physically, but she and Jim Livingston, who was the minister in town.
Yes. Who I talked to on the phone, but he's elderly now, and he even said that his memory was going.
Yeah.
And he didn't even remember who my mother was. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
But anyway,
Because the last time I saw him, he did, of course.
Oh.
That was 10 years, almost 10 years ago.
Yeah, this was like.
But anyhow, he and your mom were sitting in the bar at the hotel.
Oh, no. The minister of the
Yeah,
church.
yeah. He was a really
great.
neat guy.
That's great.
And so was his wife, and he had 2 kids. And
Yeah.
so they were the theater had been started to be used as a melodrama house
Okay.
with just local people doing a melodrama in the summertime. And they were getting kind of tired of doing it, I think. And at that point, the mine was going, but the town was just, there was nothing happening in the town. It was, the majority of the stores were boarded up.
Oh God! Did you say around what year? And I'm
That was 1966.
1966. Okay, sorry.
And so He started a junior chamber of commerce
Okay.
group in town because
Okay.
nothing was going on, and he was very energetic. He was from the east,
Oh.
from the northeast, and he'd been, lived in places where there was a bunch of things going on, and in Cree there was absolutely, literally nothing. So he and Nancy, they started this JC's Junior Chamber of Commerce, and
Okay.
the people.
Was
the
Mom involved in that, or
No,
just
no.
Mr. Livingston?
No, just Mr. Livingston.
Okay.
That was when, back in the days when only men were allowed and stuff like that.
Oh,
And then-
okay.
And then the women their wives were called the JCettes.
Oh, Mrs. Boomball.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So anyhow, he and Nancy were talking. They were sitting in the bar talking about what they could do. What can we do to help revive this town?
Yes.
It's mining, but that's all.
Yes.
And nobody is very interested in anything else. And he started the Junior Chamber of Commerce, which is made up of miners and cowboys. That was it.
Okay.
I mean, it's not your normal Junior Chamber of Commerce, because usually it's people who own businesses.
Yes. Yeah.
But this is not what it was. And so he and Nancy sat down and talked about the possibility of having a theater company come in the summer and create a theater and have something to draw the people that come into the guest ranches, who come there mostly for fishing.
Yes.
At least the men, and the women don't have anything to do, and there's almost no shops in town.
Oh.
And so they talked about bringing a company in.
Okay, and Mother was at KU at this time.
Right.
And then did Mother teach there? Did she get her
She got her
doctorate there?
Yeah.
Okay, but then did she teach there after, or did she go, I think she went straight to Oshkosh.
Yeah, she went straight to Oshkosh, I think.
Okay, so Mother was getting her doctorate at this time.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So, and she was a wonderful actress, and had a great voice, and she was,
I'm still here.
yes, that's it.
Or
And
whatever,
you looked
that's not-
almost like her
I
when you said that. When you sang that.
Boy,
And-
that's a voice out of the past.
I know.
Yeah.
I sound like my mom sometimes.
Yes, you
It
do.
freaks me out when I'm singing. Anyway.
So anyhow, they got this idea that maybe the Junior Chamber of Commerce could try to see if they could get a theater company to come. So they
Okay.
wrote to a bunch of colleges and universities in about, a 500-mile radius.
Okay.
And the story goes, recently it's been said that nobody but KU responded, but that's not true as far as I know.
Okay.
The University of Colorado looked
Responded.
into it, but then when they found that the JCs only had $27 in their bank account, they
Oh,
weren't
yeah.
too interested.
Oh no.
So there was the letter was posted in the green room on the bulletin board at KU, and Steve Grossman saw it.
Yeah.
And picked it up, and ultimately that created a group, and I was luckily one of them. There were 12 of us. There was a director, 10 actors, and me as
The costume and lighting.
costume, lighting, sets,
What?
shop foreman,
Whatever.
scene shop foreman, costume shop foreman, props manager,
And Mother Superior.
and
And, yes. And walk on. No.
No, I didn't do that.
You never did a walk-on, okay.
Never. I never wanted to be an actress.
Okay.
Which was really good, because if you're in the tech field and you want to act, that's not a good combination.
No, not at
you know.
all. You need to.
And I
yeah.
loved being in the tech field.
Yes.
And so anyhow, that's how it all got started. And it really was, if your mama hadn't been here, if Nancy hadn't been in Creed and hadn't, had a long association with Creed and knew Jim Livingston and sat in the bar that night and talked about it. It
Were
never
you
would've
there,
happened.
or is this a story that Mom told you?
No, this is a story that Jim Livingston told
That
me.
Jim Livingston told you? Okay,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah, so I mean, it is, as far as I know, the absolute truth.
okay. I don't see why it wouldn't be. And everybody in my family says your mother should be recognized for helping getting the theater going, but I don't. And when I started looking into it, I'm like, well, she didn't even start directing plays there till 1990.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's just so weird because it just.
She came out that first year, along with about three or four other KU graduate students.
Uh-huh.
And they saw, I don't know if they saw more than one show, but I know they saw Mr. Roberts.
Okay. Oh, I love that, Mr. Roberts.
And
Yeah.
that was the night
The
that,
What?
goat night.
that was the
Oh,
goat
no.
night.
What happened?
Oh, you didn't know about the goat night?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, in Mr. Roberts, the sailors
yes.
kidnap a goat and bring it on board in order to have fresh milk.
Oh, okay.
Well, or whatever they thought, that
Yes.
they were all drunk.
Yeah.
And so we had to have a goat.
Yes. Oh,
And
no.
at that point, you know, it was a tiny theater. I mean,
Yes.
it was over 100 people, but in you know, the seating, but there was no backstage, there was no side stage. You had to come in from the outside, from the doors from the outside to get on stage. And
From the outside.
outside, whether it was raining or not.
Oh, no. Okay.
And
I have to interrupt to point out that there's a golden eagle hunting in the meadow out there.
oh my God,
Where?
over there. See it?
Oh, yes. Flying up there.
Yeah.
How can you tell where to go? There it is.
Or just by its size and the
I think I got it on camera. I think it was around here yesterday.
dihedral on the wings. And
That is so cool. I was like, it's a hawk.
isn't that marvelous?
There used to be an eagle's nest up there, and I think that's why that's called Eagle's Nest. You can tell that's an eagle. It's an eagle. Sorry, okay. I just went down into my childhood of 6 years old.
That's all right.
Sorry. I've been trying to get a hummingbird. That's probably never going to happen. They're too quick. Okay, back to the story because we're running out of.
So anyhow, we,
Oh, zooming out.
you had to, we got a goat from a lady
Uh huh.
who was about this big,
Oh dear.
and she and her husband had this goat, and it was called Goaty.
Goaty?
And it slept with them at night. And she made us promise that we were going to be very, very good to this goat.
Yeah.
And we found during a rehearsal, the goat had shit. He had to come down the center aisle onto a rack up on the stage.
Yeah.
And the goat had shit coming down the
Uh-huh.
center aisle, and their shit are little, like BBs.
Okay.
And they rolled.
Oh no.
So we thought,
More
oh,
like marbles.
like marbles, yeah.
Oh okay.
And
Uh-huh.
so we thought, well, we
funny.
have to make sure we don't feed it before, you know.
Yes, we
So
bring it on.
we were feeling pretty good about it. And here was Nancy and these other graduate students from KU that came out to the cabin, but also to
Yes.
see the shows.
Yeah.
It was the time when Goaty
Uh-huh.
comes down the center aisle
Uh huh.
and gets up on stage, and all of a sudden it just shits all over
Oh,
the stage, and they're just like little balls bouncing, and
Sing along, follow the bouncing.
and the audience just
Oh.
became hysterical with
Yes.
laughter, and they had to wait and wait and wait, and I was in the light booth watching all of this.
Uh huh.
Had to wait and wait and wait for it to calm down. And you could see it on the face of the actors, because the next line was, and Doc, when does your relief come? And so the whole thing happened again.
Oh no. No, that is hysterical.
It was.
Oh
It was
my
just
gosh.
great.
How funny.
And then, then your mom came out, and I think she even acted, didn't she, one summer?
I know she did. It's just all a blur for me.
Yeah.
I have asked the lady, I've got a message into her again. I want to say her name's Kat. right now.
Kat, uh-huh.
She says she has all the old programs.
She does.
I do not see why there's not a reason why these old programs cannot be scanned and archived and put online or on their site so everybody can see when Paul Newman has acted at Creed Rep or Mandy Patinkin
Uh-huh.
or, you know, Christy, you know, whoever. And so there could be a record. So what do you think?
Well, I think that'd be great, but unfortunately, those people are so busy that I don't know if that'll
Give them
ever
to
get
me.
done.
I'll take them to Nashville and scan them and send them back.
I don't think they'd give
I
them
know
to
they
you.
wouldn't.
You
But
know.
I'm just saying.
But if you come out here, they'd probably do it sometime when you're here.
Good idea. Do they have a scanner there, I wonder?
Oh, yeah.
I wonder how many boxes there are.
Well, there's 48 years.
That's a lot of plays. So that would be a year-long project, probably, scanning and...
Well, no,
Unless you got a
because-
feeder scanner that can
Well,
shoot them
no,
through.
but the thing is that,
It would be a project that needed to be funded.
yeah, probably. Or
Well, true.
the thing is that at least in, excuse me, the first years,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure that it listed who was in what production.
Okay,
But by the time Nancy was here, it would have.
yeah.
And you know, the question is how many people are going to be interested in looking at 48 years of programs from the Creed Repertory Theater? That's the question.
Well,
in
I mean,
terms-
that's something that I would volunteer to do if it was convenient for me. You know
Right.
what I mean? I wouldn't have to be paid personally.
Right.
I don't know I mean, it's the history. What if there was a fire? I mean, wouldn't you want to have some sort of documentation of what went on there? You know?
Yeah, and they just don't have time to do that, I
Yeah.
don't think. But you could talk to them about,
I'll talk to her.
nice lady. She's
Is
a very
she?
nice lady.
Would she know who my mother is?
No.
Okay.
She doesn't have any-
Nobody knows who my mother
Christy.
is. Christy, yes. I just talked to Brownie today.
That might be
Christy
a
Brown.
good project for a special grant,
Okay.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could get paid for
That'd be great.
it. Yeah. Pay
I
your-
would be paying way out here.
Yeah.
I would do that.
Yeah. Well, talk to her about it.
Okay. Well,
And talk to Christy, you know,
Okay.
that might be. So anyhow, back to your mom. She was, even though she wasn't a part of the company for years,
yes.
she was, I think, if she hadn't been there when she and Jim had talked, the theater never would have happened,
Okay.
you know.
Oh, I was asking you, were you, no, you already answered that. I said, were you there? And you said no, but Jim had told you that. Okay.
Right.
Okay. So, all right. Well, and listen, in kind of researching this over the last year, it's not that, you know, I feel like my mom is up here because she was my mom, but it was everybody. You know, it wasn't, you know what I'm saying? I don't
Well,
want to
she
come
was-
off
she-
like
No,
I'm,
no, I'm saying she was an important,
Yeah.
without her there at that particular time in the bar, this would never have happened.
okay,
So it
serendipity.
is, yeah, serendipity, but it is important that without him talking to her,
Yes. And he talked to her because she was in the theater.
Right.
That was her life.
right, exactly.
So, okay.
Exactly, it wasn't like, you know, just somebody off the street. It was a
Okay.
very important meeting.
Gotcha.
And with that, Jim went to the J.C.'s, who were totally unenthusiastic about it.
Well, they were miners and
Yeah, and
wranglers.
they didn't think that was a good idea at all. And when
Mm-hmm.
it finally came down to a vote, it looked like it was going to be no. And somebody told me that Jim was practically in tears, and they did it just because they didn't want him to cry.
Oh, no.
You can imagine
Oh,
all
that's
these
funny.
miners around watching a minister almost ready
Would
to cry.
cry,
Because
yes.
the J.C.'s every year have to have a project that is
Oh.
that is done for the community and that is then sent in to the state. And
Okay.
it's a contest for what's the best one.
Uh-huh.
Had,
And it
had they-
justifies their existence as a chapter.
right.
What
Because
does
it's
JC stand for?
Junior Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, okay. Junior Chamber. Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
That's why I
Bing.
was saying it.
I'm fascinated because I'm so far removed from any thing like this now. I mean, it's bringing back wonderful memories of how Mom's life operated. So, I mean, anyway, sorry about that. Go ahead.
Well, it's just that you can imagine a bunch of cowboys and miners who had never seen a play in their life,
Yes.
or if they had, it was a school play where most people couldn't remember their lines,
Yeah.
to even contemplate
Mm-hmm.
having it. They had no idea what that meant. Absolutely none. And if Jim hadn't been so focused, and because he was from the East and he had gone to theater and he had, he was so sure that it would work. Well, there are some incredible stories of the whole thing, what happened while we were trying to get it together and all of that. But ultimately, on opening night of Mr. Roberts, which was the first show
The
that
very
opened.
first play.
Yeah.
Wow.
Starring Goaty the Goat.
Starring Goaty the Goat. And Earl Trussell and Joe Roach, who is now at Yale.
He's the Dilley Professor of American Theater History at Yale.
Wow.
I mean, big deal.
Big deal. Yes.
Big deal. I mean, he's just not a professor. He is,
Yes.
I mean,
That's
if you
huge.
look at that group of people, it's pretty impressive for the most part. Pretty impressive
Yeah.
group of young people who, and not all of them have gone on to do things in theater, but it was a wonderful group of people to work with.
That's so.
And
That's so
I
great.
was,
Do you remember anybody else's names in that first?
oh yeah, there was Steve Grossman, who's the one
Yes.
that decided to do it.
Yes.
There was Joe Roach, Gary Mitchell, Kay Habenstein. Now she's, well, I might remember, but
Okay.
anyhow, me,
Married name, I mean? Lancaster.
yeah, Lancaster.
Lancaster. Okay.
Sherry Morey, and I think her last name's Lacey now. Gosh,
Sherry Shuck?
no.
How many are you up to? 7?
I don't know. Lance Hewitt,
Okay.
who's now has his own theater, a small theater in New York, and has won some wonderful prizes and awards and stuff.
Yeah.
I did mention Gary Mitchell, I think.
Well, I don't want you.
Anyhow,
I
I
don't
can't-
want you to hurt yourself. Yeah.
Listen, between chemo brain and old age, I'm lucky to remember that many names.
I know. What did you get chemo for? Your
For the- yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
they did surgery and then chemo? Oh,
Yeah.
Lord, child. You've been through some.
Oh, it's been great. I mean,
That's been great.
really,
Yeah.
I didn't have. I mean, I threw up once.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
and
great.
that was, I mean, I had every single symptom. I mean, every single side effect that
Yes.
chemo does, but nothing. Nothing serious at all.
Now, did you smoke a little pot while you were doing chemo?
No, I tried it. I tried it once coming back from my first chemo thing, and I didn't even. I mean, I used to smoke pot,
Oh, yeah.
in the old days, but and
Yeah.
I had some really old stuff left over.
Oh, no.
And I tried it. We were driving back. Bill was driving, and I was
Uh-huh.
choking up, and it just didn't do anything. I didn't like it at all.
Yeah.
So that was the end of that, and I haven't done since.
Well, I think we got Mom a joint when she was doing chemo. And I think she smoked it. Hi, Bill.
Hi.
Can you tell me a little bit about, I think you said that you knew Mom at KU?
Yes, she was a graduate student while I
Okay.
was there.
Okay.
And she was a member of, in those years, we had a permanent acting company
Okay.
made up of graduate student actors and faculty members,
Okay.
which formed the kind of nucleus of a company filled in by undergraduate students. And she was one of the graduate student actresses. She was quite wonderful. And in 1960, summer of 1964, I went to Finland to do an intensive study of the Russian language. My specialty was Russian theater, and there was a Russian community there in Järvenpää, Finland. And
Why do I want to say Chekhov?
and while
I don't know.
That because he's
Star
Russian.
Trek. I'm just kidding. Okay.
while I was doing research at the University of Helsinki,
Uh-huh.
I met a woman, Catherine Zyablova,
Wow.
who had been an actress for the Moscow Art Theater in the 20s, at which time she met a member of the cultural embassy exchange between Finland and the Soviet Union, and she married him and went back to Finland. I got to talking to her and about a play that I was planning to direct that next year, that fall, by Vladimir Mayakovsky. And she said, well, I had been in that play and I'd be delighted to come to KU and
Did she
reprise
really?
my role.
Wow.
And I thought, well, we'll see about that. But actually, I went back to KU and talked it over with the staff, and we thought that might be a good idea. So Catherine Zyablova came
Wow.
and reprised her role in a play called The Bedbug.
The
and-
bedbug, yes.
And your
okay.
mother was in that.
Okay,
And she
that's
was just wonderful
sounds familiar.
in that play. That was the only time I directed her. I don't remember other roles that she did at KU at the moment.
Well, her big dealio was Who's Afraid of Virginia
Oh,
Woolf?
of course.
Yeah.
Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf?
She was
And
wonderful
that's
in
what I
that.
remembered her especially for.
Because I think that play was real controversial with that.
At the time,
At
of
the
course.
time.
Yeah. Had bad language.
Oh, yeah.
But she was exceptional,
Yeah, she was
that
brilliant
role.
in it.
quite wonderful.
Well, people always said that to me about her, just how good, great of an actress she was.
She was a
And,
wonderful actress.
and BJ, do you remember, she got a Kennedy Center Award. Do you remember that? It was for that, oh, what was that for?
For her work at the University of Tulsa.
Yes, it like they did a. She was in it. She was in the little play that they performed there. Gosh, she was an old woman. I don't remember in the play. I was trying to think of the part, but they gave her an award. Is that what it was for being?
Probably the American College Theater Festival, and she probably would have
Yes.
got Best Actress for the festival or something like that.
Okay, well,
That's a big award, too.
it's a big dealio. I mean, not a lot of people get those. I don't think. I need to. I think Zan has the award somewhere. I don't know if what it's made out of, but I just would like to have it somewhere. Well, we have about 12 minutes left. Let's talk about. What do you want to talk about?
I want you to tell me more about. Oh, there's a flicker.
What's Flickr?
He's in the bottom of the blue spruce up there.
Is it a bird?
Yeah.
But I don't see him. Where is
Can
he?
you believe
It's a kind of a woodpecker.
Oh, he's the
Flickr.
guy who's been knocking on my.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, making me think there's
Doing
ghosts.
rat-a-tat-tat on your post.
Yes.
I'm eager to hear about what Nancy did when she went to the University of Tulsa.
Tulsa.
I lost track of her about that time, and
Well,
I did
okay,
want-
you're talking to a menopausal woman here.
You're in good company.
Well, we went to Oshkosh for 4 years after Lawrence, because I went to first through the fourth grade there. And me and my sister were in a little school called Campus, and it was, look at that guy. He's coming over to say hello. He was right by your, there he is. Oh, it's a little chipmunk.
Oh, yeah.
He-
Actually, believe it or not, those are not chipmunks.
What are they?
They're ground squirrels. You can tell
Ground
because if they have stripes on their eyes, they're chipmunks, and if they don't, they're ground squirrels.
Oh, really?
I just learned that this year.
Well, after all these, I don't
I know.
care. I'm still going to call them chipmunks. I'm just saying. But she went to, we went to Oshkosh. We went to an experimental school. It was called Campus, which Facebook has helped me reconnect with these kids I went to 1st through 4th grade with that I never
Oh.
knew, what happened to them. So that was, and I found my old art teacher, so that was cool. Anyway, and then we went to Tulsa, 1970, hold on, 1969? What year was it when she was with you? 66? I think it was 1970.
Well, I don't remember when she got her degree. It was in the mid-60s.
Okay. I think we landed in Tulsa around 70. And so she just got hired as the head of the department there, the head of the theater department. And the
And built up that department, it seems to me.
yeah, and real soon, I don't remember exactly what year, but she helped redesign the actual theater, and like they built a new theater, and
They did, and she
yeah.
almost designed it single-handedly. I mean, she...
I remember her working on the acoustics in there. I remember her
Right.
talking about that. And then Tony Randall came for the opening of it. I want to say it was the Midsummer's Night Dream, because my cousin Jeff may have been in it. Cousin Jeff Watts. And Tony Randall came, and she says, "Now, Holly, we're going to go meet Tony Randall, at the after party." I'm like, "Okay, let's go," and got my outfit on, and Zan and I, and we're all going to go see the play. And I guess he was an alumni there, and so he was helping to dedicate it. And right before she left, she said to me, "And for God's sake, Holly, don't say fuck all the time."
How old were you?
I was a teenager, but, I mean, we were smoking cigarettes at 12 in the house, and, she was a cool mom, in some ways. And then in other ways, she probably should have been a little bit more disciplinary with us. But, yeah, and then, gosh, she did just zillions and zillions of plays there, and, what was the other experience? She got, remember Michael Learned, that lady from the Waltons?
Yeah.
And Emmett Kelly, maybe? She had some of those people come at, 1 year to do something, because I remember meeting them. Oh, what is that lady's name? Cloris Leachman?
Mm-hmm.
She came once for something, I think.
Wow.
I think I'm filming the ceiling because I'm trying to remember. And then what's the Days of Wine and Rose? No, that's a movie.
No, that was a
It's a
play,
play,
too.
too.
The Days of Wine and Roses. And then there was a man named Jimmy Webb. Did he have anything to do with that? The Days of Wine?
I don't know.
I know she was doing something. She did something with Jimmy Webb, a play that they did an experiment with it, to work. What is it called? Where you work it before it goes, and you're trying to edit it and to see how the audience responds. And what's that called, Bill?
Well,
It's like a trial, right?
well, not a preview, but
Right. But she just ran that
out of town
department.
tryout.
Yeah, an out of town trial.
Way out of town.
She just ran that department, and I ended up going to college there for a couple of years. And then this one man came in, this dean. And listen, I don't remember all the details, but she did not get along with him, and something happened. And then, not long after that, they were asking her to retire early or something. I don't remember.
Man, I can't imagine. That was just horrible.
Yeah, she was a strong lady, and she didn't, you know, she didn't put up with.
She didn't brook fools.
No, and I remember a lot of people saying they thought she was a bitch, and maybe she was, but she was trying to do what she knew how to do, you know, which was run that department. So,
Well,
and
she did run it, and she did build it up into a, you know, quite a fine department, and particularly the production program. And it developed a very good reputation during the years she was there.
oh, good,
From nothing, you know.
from nothing to something really great.
Well, Nancy would not have dealt with nothing. She
No,
would have made sure that it became something. That's who
Yes.
she was.
yes,
You know, I mean, she was not an easy person, but she was a very talented, dedicated person, and she had real focus.
yes. And she was, in addition to running that department, she would be the president of like the Southwest region
Theater conference.
conference, and then I remember they asked her one time to be the national president of the theater conference, and she turned it down because the university said it would take too much time away from